Let's see, if I'm going to be looking at my computer, half my face is cut off. Let's fix that. Yep. There we go. Okay, mic's working. I think everything's streaming. I'm going to get started. So, let's get started. I might need Baboon head reference. I'm going to leave that open. We're also going to open my YouTube channel and my ArtStation page just in case, because there's some resources on there. One of those resources being, if I go to my YouTube channel and I type in the Face Stealer, there's a couple, there's a bunch of live streams in here. The making of where we are so far. I'll go ahead and put that into the chat just in case you want to get caught up. There you go. So, we have a Face Stealer-esque thing. Now, this is just a generic head. We're going to update this a little bit to just finish watching the Netflix series. There was some insane effects. One of those, I think, was I think it was pretty cool. So I'm going to update what we've done so far. We've got a pretty good block out, I think. We've got the body and the head and the little pincher arms and stuff. So I'm just going to update the face. And another thing I can do is animate through this face using Character Creator. Speaking of, I went ahead and Z'd over a base body. So I can start with this topology and use this as my starting point so that I can go through and animate this face later. But I need to make these compatible because right now, this body compared to what I've been working on, which is at ZBrush scales, humongous. So if I go down here to export, you're going to see the scale is set to 1. Then if I go down here and say export, that scale is set to 1, but I'm working at drastically different scales when I switch back and forth between these. So what I'm going to do, I kind of don't want to touch the scale on this just in case I need to use face tools, but I can also, here's something I can do. Let's try this. First, I'm going to say quick save. So I can always go back and get the state, the ZBrush state that I'm in. And another thing I can do is I can go in here to Z plugin Scale Master, and there's a thing called ZBrush Scale Unify. So if I tap that, that'll go through and rescale my subtools. And now you're going to see when I make my brush size bigger, it'll cap out like it normally would. And this makes the object, the bounding box of the object, about a ZBrush cube size, the ZBrush primitive size. So now when I switch back and forth, they're a little bit more compatible as far as scale, and I think it'll still be compatible because when I go down here to export, this export scale has been updated. So we'll give it a shot. If it doesn't work, I can do some fancy footwork to get this to work, I think. So another thing too is I want to add all of these subtools to my face file so I can replace this face with that one. Easy way to do that. If I go in here to subtool, you see I already have folders in here. One thing I don't need is avatar ang. I can go ahead here and say delete all. Always okay. I don't need that. And we got some fibers in here, and we got a bunch of folder stuff. So if you didn't have a folder, let's say you didn't, I'm going to go in here and say delete folder. Move this here real quick and double check. Okay, I'm always scared, terrified. Something's going wrong right at the top. John Yu, good morning, man. It's been a while. I'm putting things in folders. How exciting is that? So what's this? This is oh, that's just a leg that we were copying around. So this one we don't actually need. And I always like to have a little star in here that keeps, when I go to tool save as, that'll capture the name. But I don't need that either. So folders, I want to make one of these things in a folder. So I'm going to hit W on my keyboard. I'm going to go in here to move multiple, that little 3 stack. You can toggle that on and off with your gizmo turned on. Control Shift drag. If you already had some stuff hashed, you can Control Shift drag to unhash everything. And then I'm just going to hash most of my items here. You can also go through and Control Shift tap items as well. Hit Control F on your keyboard. Say always yes. We'll name this folder with a 4. And we can just drag items into here. So I can just drag the eyeball and the head and whatever else is in there. So now everything is in a folder. Now to transport all my contents, I'm going to go up here to Z plugin. Subtool master, we're going to say copy folder. We're going to go over to our other subtool here, and at the very bottom of our stack, we're going to say paste folder. That'll go through and paste the folder into the other subtool, and then we can get rocking and rolling. Oh man, I'm doing okay. Not as good as just getting back from Vegas though. I'm a little jealous. Nice. I need to take some days off. That sounds like a good time. Assuming you had a good time and you didn't go there for, you know, doing something tedious. So now we have, we didn't really fix the size thing, did we? But if I go through here, I think my brushes will work. Okay, I think we'll be okay. I don't plan on using face tools for this, I don't think. So we have a folder in here full of Co stuff. So I'm going to go through here and I'm going to say transpose set. That will allow me to move my folder. Now, of course, my gizmo is just kind of off into space. I have X symmetry turned on. I don't even know what subtool I have selected. Something weird. So I'm going to go out of X symmetry and hold down Alt and go to, or no, I need to do that. Just go to unmatch my center here. I'm going to hold down Alt and then click this reset button. So now I'm right in the middle. And then with move multiple still selected, I can go through here and I can scale all this up here. And basically we're going to put this head right there. So now I can update a head I can animate through with this head. Now, one thing I might have to do is go ahead and swing this down. And again, we're just going to kind of match this. And it matches pretty good. Yeah, I think that'll work. And we can move stuff around to accommodate, including the face. We're not locked into it. We're just using it as a starting point. So we'll go ahead and put this down here. All right, I think we're good to go. So I'm going to go ahead and say, you can keep the folder if you want to. I don't tend to use folders all that much. So I'm going to say delete folder. And then I'm just going to go through here and alt tap things I want to keep. So first of all, yes, we definitely want to keep the base body. And in fact, all the CC stuff, I'm just going to go ahead and keep those around. And now this head, what is this? This is my eye occlusion. Okay. This head here is what we're replacing. And that's just a base head here. So I think we're okay to go ahead and just delete that out of our scene. These are just generic eyeballs. And there we go. And then we'll turn that base body back on. So I think we're rocking and rolling. Now on this body, if you don't like seeing the body there, we can just isolate just the head here and just be working on that while we update. The only thing we don't want to do is change the vert order on this head. Okay. I think we're okay. So let's bring in some reference here. So I'm going to go in here to texture import. And I need to go to, I think I have it in my, nope. Damn. Streaming. What are we doing? Avatar. Reference. So I've got some updated reference here. Let me just find like a neutral-ish. Let me see. View extra large icons. We got a neutral type face that's got everything I need in it. Yeah. This one looks pretty good. So I went ahead and went texture import, grab that image, and we're going to add it to our spotlight here. We're going to scale this down. This one kind of has a surprise face though, actually, now that I see it up close. View extra large icons. That was 04, maybe 03. So with Spotlight open, you can go in here to texture import, and when you add anything else, it will automatically add it to your Spotlight. There we go. Yeah, this one's a little more neutral. And then this one here, we'll go ahead and delete it out of our Spotlight. So we have a head on here that we generally want to match. We can go through here and we can change the opacity. And this one, very stylized, kind of like a mask with carved eyes. It's kind of, you know, this one isn't that neutral either. And it's not a huge deal. It's not like it's that complicated of a face. I think we're going to stick with 04. Sorry, texture 04. There we go. That's fine. This one here. Okay. So once again, we'll go through here. We'll scale it up. We'll knock down our opacity a little bit. And we want to get back to this point so we can navigate around. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to line up these faces here, and we're going to use this as our guide. We can even go through here and polypaint if we want, and this will, and you know, also don't be afraid, like in the reference image, the head could be tilted up or tilted down. So I'm going to take a best guess stab at where my features go and the overall scale just to kind of lock it into place-ish. And then once I get it kind of narrowed down, I'm going to go into movie, timeline, show. We're going to tap a little dot in there, And then you don't have to have that on. You can just go to movie timeline, show off. And then now if we move stuff around, we can use our arrow keys and snap it back. Now, I don't need everything in my scene right now. We'll just start with the CC base body. Another cool thing though is maybe if we got, I don't think this is going to take me that long, so maybe we can end up doing like a baboon head that we can have. I don't know that we could use a CC topology for that. Well, man, maybe we could. That'd be a cool test. Now I'm interested. Maybe we'll try that to take the CC topology and turn it into a baboon head and animate that as well. Excellent. Thank you for the kind words, everybody. Afraid of artificial intelligence, aren't we all? I've been afraid of AI since Terminator 2. My fear started with Skynet. But what are you gonna do? You know, I for one welcome our AI overlords. I'll go ahead and turn on X symmetry here, and again we'll hit Z on our keyboard. Oh, our spotlight little thing disappeared. That's okay. I'm gonna go through here, and again we'll take this down. And now we're just kind of matching features. So I'm going to go through here with my move brush. So I have my hotkey set to Alt W. You can go in here to BMV in there if you want. And then we're going to go through here. We're just going to kind of move some stuff around. Now I'm only moving in one axis. Basically, I'm on a plane and I'm just moving around the face on a flat plane. So I can't assume that as I'm moving stuff around, everything's going to be all great, because I know as soon as I change the face, it's going to have some issues. So we'll fix those issues. That's part of the process. But again, we're just kind of dialing in the overall features here. We'll widen the nose out a little bit, widen the mouth out a little bit. If we want to, if you haven't grabbed 2024.0.2 from your Maxon app and you've got the latest, that fixed the, if I go in here to my move brush, go in here to auto masking, that fixed the topological issue. So if we change this down to 1.5 and we move the upper lip, it'll actually move by itself now. Cool. So if we did want to thicken that upper lip, we can go in here and turn on topological, and we can kind of go through here and kind of thicken these lips out. You can also use the inflate brush if you'd like. And I think that's it. I think we're actually already done. This is going to be a shorter stream than I was thinking. Maybe this chin needs to go down just a little bit here, make it a little more pointy. Okay, so we'll do Shift Z, and here's our new head here, and then we can check the profile here. I'm going to make this nose a little bit bigger here. And then one thing we did, again, since we moved the eyes out, I do want to make sure we move them back a little bit. I like to use my move brush with auto masking, or I'm sorry, curve, with AccuCurve turned on. That allows me to grab just a corner and kind of pull a more constrained area. If I just go to my move brush with AccuCurve off, you'll see it has that whole fall off here, and it moves a bunch of verts, which is nice. It's nice for a lot of, you know, movements like broad movements. But for my money, AccuCurve is great for pulling in, you know, tiny corners and stuff. So again, we're just going to go through here. We'll turn on solo and go through here and just kind of make sure that our geometry isn't getting too stressed, because again, this stuff's going to have to animate. So another thing we can do is we can go down here. I'm going to hold down Control Shift and tap, bring our whole body back. Actually, let's see if we can do this. I'm going to Control Shift tap, sorry, just the head here. I think I can do this. I'm going to go in here to morph. I'm going to slide this geometry across the face. And how you can do that is you can go in here to morph target. We're going to, we can't. So bring all your geometry back. Control Shift tap. I was hoping we could, but we can't. Go in here and say store morph target, and then that'll store kind of the volumes where they are. And then I can go through here, and actually what I could have done, what I maybe should have done is gone back in history, and then before I moved all this stuff out, stored this. Now I can use my morph brush, but I can't use project morph. Long story short, what I'm trying to do is if I store a morph target here and use project morph, as I'm moving stuff around, I can go through here, and again, we can smooth and move all the stuff around, and then I can use project morph, and that will project it back to the volume that you stored your morph target at. So that way you can slide features across. I'm going to hold down Shift, turn down my Z intensity, and while I'm smoothing, I'm going to hold down Shift and then let go of smooth. Boy, that's an intense smooth. Maybe 8. Yeah, I just want a tiny bit of smooth. One reason why smooth is so intense, if I hold down Shift and go in here to smooth brush modifiers, I have my weighted smooth mode set to 1. So that automatically makes my smooth brush stronger, for better or for worse. So now, okay, that's a little better. We got some draft here. We'll go ahead and delete that morph target. We didn't really use that, but okay. We're looking good. We're looking good. So if we want to go ahead and start detailing this face, say we want to export this and bake some normal maps and throw it into Substance Painter or whatever, we can do that. We can just start Control D and subdividing. So obviously make sure all our meshes are showing, and then we can just hit, actually one thing, yeah, we'll hit Control D for the base body here, and then again, if you just want to sculpt on the face, we'll hit Control, Alt Tap any of the subtools you're working on. Another thing we can do is we can move the eye occlusion. I'm going to ignore. I can rebuild that later, and the eye wet I can also rebuild later. We'll take the eyeball here, and see here. We'll turn off Move Multiple. Here we go. Eyeball here. We'll turn on X to go into X symmetry here. I'm going to scoot this over a little bit, and we could even maybe scale these eyeballs up. Now, if we're going to scale these eyeballs up, you're going to see it's going to want to go toward, in a way, your axis, your world center. So we're going to turn on LSIM with dynamic off. Dynamic just puts the symmetry line basically where your gizmo is, which you don't want. And we're going to scale this eyeball up a little bit, and that'll scale on its own little local axis there. So this will keep us honest too. So as we're moving the geometry around, we need to make sure we go through here and make sure our eyelids are actually wrapping around the eyeball mass. And again, we might have to do some funky things with this eyeball because these eyeballs are kind of carved. But we'll figure that out. Alrighty, and then we'll go through here. So if I want to define this lip a little bit, I go in here to my damn standard brush. We'll hold down Alt, and we can just kind of go along that ridge there, and we can kind of define this face, and then maybe we'll come in here and we'll kind of push in just a little bit. And this is just standard sculpting stuff. We'll get to that baboon head in just a minute if I can grab some good reference of that. So we'll go through here, and again, we'll just do our damn standard. And then this. Again, this is, I'm pulling my reference, this is more mask-like, so there's not, you know, the nodes at the corners of the mouth aren't really there. This is like super crisp and kind of etched in here. It's a lot of it's material treatment too. Kind of a sweaty mask material. And we can change that, but again, if we want to, we can go through here and we can kind of eliminate these nodes. I'm going to hold down Shift and turn up my Z intensity just a bit, and we'll knock that back just a tiny bit, and we can even round the corners of this lip out, and we'll kind of line it a little bit too. It kind of has a, again, that kind of mask feel, something like this. Let me get caught up. Yeah, good morning from Mongolia. Jeez, far, far away from me. Good morning, good morning. Planning to do in the stream, I think we're gonna do a baboon head is gonna be the biggest thing we do, since everything else is kind of done-ish already. The head even is kind of a-okay in my book. Most of that work will be done in the material later. I might do another follow-up live stream on my channel where we go through and texture it out and then animate it. Lower lid 2 seems like all of this is a bit filled in, so we'll go through here and we'll fill in this. This is all just like a smooth transition all through here. So again, we're kind of hyper stylizing the face here. And then looks like there's a, we'll relax our eye just a little bit here, because if we want to have a full range of eye motion, we don't want to have it slightly elevated. We want to make sure everything is pretty concise. So now, again, we're on subdivision level 2. I'm in my damn standard 02, which you can download from the internet, and that just gives us a nice little pinch, and not a pinch, but kind of a very sharp line and then a little bit of an inflate around that line. Kind of allows you to kind of push in kind of harsh details here. And then again, if we want to bring our reference back, Shift Z, use our arrow keys to snap those back. And I'm going to hit Z on my keyboard. There we go. I guess we can, it's not there, but oh, there it is. We can just grab this thing here and move it around. And then, so that's what I really wanted to do. It just disappeared. So now we've got our reference in place. I can move this over and then I can kind of go back and forth and we can kind of eyeball this. I'm going to drop the nose down a little bit and again, just kind of broaden it out here. And again, we'll just kind of and again, we're just moving it from one angle, so you want to make sure you go back and you make any adjustments that you want. Yeah, it kind of lengthens the nose out a little bit, which I'm looking at the other reference here. I don't have a good profile shot. It's all very straight on, but generally okay. It does look a little longer in the nose than I had, and the nose is downturned, which I've matched now. All right. Something like this. We'll soften this out. Okay, I think we're pretty close. So we've got step one done. Now, in the reference, there is a, I hate that. Whenever I'm sculpting in ZBrush, I don't know if it's a Wacom thing or what, I suddenly can't, there we go, move anything temporarily on my other windows. But there's a membrane around the face right here, as well as the opening of the eye. So that, I think we're pretty close. I'm going to actually modify this piece a little bit. So we're going to go into solo mode here. We do have subdivisions, I believe. Yeah, so we started out with just a really simple mesh here, and then we just kind of subdivided up. Let's go through here again, like I was talking about with that damn standard brush. We're going to grab that one, make a pretty big brush size. We'll turn on X symmetry, and I'm just going to go through here, and we're going to carve through this and make it look like it kind of separates a little bit more along here. We'll put in some fleshy folds, you know, that kind of go down. And surprisingly, even though we started from the cartoon and just made some best guesses, it's pretty close to what they ended up with in the show. So I'm not too mad. Not that I'd really be mad. And then across here, this looks more fleshy. So I'm going to go through here with my trim dynamic. And we're going to knock this corner back and then hold down shift to smooth. We'll bring up my Z intensity here. And again, if I'm sculpting on, you know, 500,000 points, and if it is a little bit, yeah, this is all fleshier, hard to sculpt, what you can do is you can drop down in your subdivision level. But if you don't have subdivision level, if you're using Dynamesh at a high resolution, remember, shift and then go to smooth brush modifiers and change your weighted smooth mode to 1. And that'll allow you a little more leeway on how powerful your smooth brush is. So now we've got that. And then we can put some little lumpy bumps in here. Again, go back into our damn standard. And we can kind of cut across here and just kind of dial in some. And this is all symmetrical, by the way, which is a little bit, you know, whenever we go to final render, it's going to be really noticeable. So I'll tap X to turn off X symmetry while we're detailing this. I don't care about the overall forms, but I don't want my details to be all symmetrical. So we'll go turn X symmetry off. And we'll make this look like a big old pair of lips that this mask is being forced through here. Yeah, something like that. We can punch these up a little bit too with our, you know, clay brush or clay buildup brush. Go ahead and knock that Z intensity down and go through here and kind of enhance, like so. And which is fine. I like to use that when I'm doing more kind of blocking out volumes. But when I already have detail, I tend to just use my clay brush. It's a little softer. It doesn't quite have all the scratchiness of, I mean, I guess you could, on the clay buildup or clay tubes, you could go through and knock that alpha out, but the clay brush does a fine job. So we'll go ahead and put in some more of those little bumpy areas like this. And I don't know that we might do the skin pores in the texture. Yeah, I think that'll be what we do. So again, just kind of going through here and just adding a little bit of, in the grand scheme of things, these details would be kind of tertiary, but in the macro to micro view, they kind of turn into primary forms again. These big wrinkles will be primary forms, and then on here will be little micro wrinkles that'll be secondary, and then on here will be pore detail, which will be tertiary. So it's kind of a fractal of detail. I think there was a ZBrush Summit where that was talked about. I can't remember exactly who or what, but I don't know, maybe look that up. We can also pinch these together. So if I go in here to my pinch brush, that'll pinch geometry together. One cool thing we can do though is we can go in here to our elasticity. We can crank up our simulation iterations, and then that will turn our pinch brush into a cloth brush. Now it's going to tell you we're higher than our max simulation points. Where that is under dynamics. You're going to see there's a max simulation points. You can crank that up, but honestly, usually I just go in here and I just grab what I need. Go ahead and turn on X symmetry. We'll grab what I need, and then we can go through and simulate. Now, because we have so much geometry when I'm simulating, it's going through and, you know, kind of making everything, it's giving me small wrinkles. I can fix that by going up here to firmness, and then we can, maybe not that high, maybe 3, and that'll give us larger wrinkles, or we can just drop our subdivision history here and kind of jiggle that around. Now, one thing I don't like about this is my geometry is a little bit stressed over here. This geometry is okay, but it's not great. Here's something maybe we could try to do. Yeah, we can do this. This is easy. So subdivision level 5. Let's say I want to rebuild this geometry, get it a little bit nicer, and then get my details back. A couple different ways to do that. One way I like to do it is go up here to my history and then hold down Control and tap the latest point in history to store those verts. And then I'm going to drop down. I already have decent polygroups. I'm not worried about that. I just want to rebuild my geometry within the confines of this polygroup. So I'm going to say go down to subdivision level 3, delete higher, delete lower, have X symmetry turned on. I'm going to say zero mesh half, adaptive size down quite a bit. I want mostly even quads. I don't want a bunch of extra stuff built in. And I'm going to say keep groups, smooth groups down to 0, hit zero mesh. That's going to go through and give me all new geometry. Now, of course, zero mesh, and it's going to be symmetrical geometry. It's going to give me new geometry. Great. So I'm going to go through here, and I'm just going to keep hitting zero mesh half. And now while I'm doing this, I am losing volume, but I'm not, it's still pretty high, so I don't think it's separating too much from my original details. If I want to project back to my original details, I can just go in here to Subtool, Project, hit this Project History. That'll project my details back. So that way I'm getting a little bit better, more predictable geometry here. Yeah, I think this is going to feel a little bit better. I think it'll animate fine. So we'll go ahead and say Project History again to get my details back. And then if I'm happy with this, I can hit Control D to subdivide, which is geometry divide, project history, and I'll go ahead and turn off polyframe. Control D to subdivide, project history, Control D to subdivide, project history, and we're back up to our 500,000-ish points. So keep hitting that if you'd like. And again, I'm going to go through here. I'm going to do a little inflate on this back half here. Kind of fatten that up a little bit. Oh yeah, so what we were doing was we were going through here with our pinch brush with cloth turned on. So I can go through here, and again, as I'm pinching, now I'm getting a little bit more predictable results in here. Now, again, this is a lot of geometry, so I'm going to drop down to subdivision level 3, and now you're going to see I don't even have to go into, I don't have to go in here and mask out verts because I'm already below that 250 threshold. So let's turn our firmness back down to 2. And now we can go through here, and as we're pinching, it's actually giving us some skin folds on here. We can also go through here. So if I go in here and like B, C, K, our cloth hook brush, we can kind of move skin around, but it's and I kind of want to push the skin around on a surface. So I'm going to go down here to our thick skin is where? Am I going crazy? Dynamic. It's down here, right? Thick skin. Okay. If I turn on thick skin, that's going to limit the effect this brush has. And you can go in here into thickness. You can say how much it'll affect. An easy way to kind of visualize this, if I go into my clay brush and start using my clay brush, it'll kind of cap out eventually and turn into like a flat plane. You can kind of use this as like a layer brush if you wanted to. In our case, we're going to go back to BCK, and we can use this as a way to kind of push skin across an underlying surface. So we'll dial in that thick skin at like maybe 1.1. And now if I go in here and kind of push this around, it'll build up some wrinkles in these areas and kind of enhance the contrast. Now you can go through and also use a contrast brush if you want more contrast. I'm using this for kind of enhancing the wrinkles we have. Again, we can also go back to our pinch brush. I'll go ahead and turn off X symmetry. Just kind of go through here and just kind of use that. And we'll turn down our Z intensity on our smooth. There we go. So we're going through, we're kind of getting some knobby skin wrinkled in here. Yeah. There we go. And then, like I said, if you did want to change the contrast, you could also go in here to like BC. There's a CBC. Can I see? BC brushes. Contrast. Delta and contrast target. So you can keep building up contrast with delta, and then contrast target will just kind of hit a target and then stop. So you can go through here and you can just kind of use that to kind of enhance the contrast in some of these areas. Now it is thick skin still on, so it will kind of cap out interestingly, which might work, but I'll go ahead and turn that off. And now I can just go through here and enhance some of that contrast. If you wanted to kind of push these wrinkles together, you'll notice I do have polygroups on here. So I can go through here and I can say, hey, take this here. I can hit W and control tap this polygroup here, control tap to invert, and then, so Gizmo, when you control tap a polygroup, it'll automatically mask it. We can hold control tap the mask and blur it out a little bit. We can kind of go through here. We can kind of push these little verts together and kind of close this up as well. So, oops, control tap to invert. There we go. So we'll have some masked out areas. You can also use move topological, but since these verts are so close together, I don't think it would be all that effective. So there we go. We've done some weirdo creature stuff. Now we didn't make the membrane yet, and also in my reference here, it looks like this is a little closer. So I'm going to go ahead and follow suit, and then we'll put a membrane right on the side. So we'll go drop down to subdivision level 1. I'm going to hit W, go to unmatched mesh center. We're going to squeeze this in. Cool thing you can do, if you didn't know, you can go in here to BTC, or BTA, sorry, that's transpose cloth. So while I'm transposing this, it'll actually go through and treat this whole object like cloth. Not really what I want to do in this case. We'll go back to BTR, which is transpose regular cloth smart mask classic R. Okay, there we go. Incidentally, so we're in BTR, right? And as I'm dragging this here, we're getting a soft fall off now, which is nice in a lot of ways. If you want to go back to the usual, you can go to BTC, which is transpose classic, and then when I drag on there, it'll give you the more harsh fall off line, if that was useful to you. So we'll go through here. We'll bring these corners in a little bit, and X symmetry turned on, and we'll kind of push this back out. There we go. So we got the corners in, and then we can also go in here with our move brush with AccuCurve turned on, like I was talking about earlier. We can get these a little closer, and you know what? I'm going to say under subtool, I'm going to go all, where is it at? All low. There we go. That'll drop us down to our, just our usual stuff. We'll turn on X symmetry on this, and we'll go in here again with our move AccuBrush. I'm just going to bring in these little shells just a little bit there. Make this a little more intimate. There we go. And now for the membrane, I think it goes all the way around the head. It's kind of a little disturbing, birth canal-ish. But what we'll do is, I think I'm just going to duplicate off this head. We're going to use that as a starting point, go into solo mode. And then I'm going to hit Control W on the duplicate and say Geometry Modify Topology, Delete Hidden. Control Shift, we're going to switch over here to Slice Curve. I'm just going to slice where that membrane is going to be. Oh, sorry, delete higher, no subdivision levels. So here, the membrane is going to be about here. And then I don't think we're going to ever see the inside, so I'm going to stop the membrane. Just unmask everything. Stop the membrane right about here. Yeah, that'll work. So Control Shift Tap. We don't need this little bottom part here. We'll go ahead and slice that as well. Geometry Modify Topology, Delete Hidden. If you got some extra stuff in there, you can always do a Polygroups, Auto Groups. Control Shift Tap the orange. Geometry Modify Topology, Delete Hidden. We want to rebuild this geo. Zero measure half. Depth size down to 0. Nice even quads. And now we got new geo. We'll go ahead and keep hitting half. There we go. Look at that. Little sheath there. We'll go through here and we'll say QMesh, Polygroup All, or Extrude, Polygroup All with our ZModeler brush. BZM. Hover over face, hold down spacebar, Extrude, Polygroup All. Now we're starting to get into the flow state, and you might not have that flow state yet, which is fair. So I'm going to go in here to my YouTube playlist, and there is a Intro to ZBrush, new and updated. So if you have no idea what I'm doing, here's all the basics. Go check it out. Learn some ZBrush. Same thing on my ArtStation page. If you go in here to ZBrush What's New, here's Intro to ZBrush, and then all the What's New stuff all the way back to ZBrush 4R8. So if you want to learn ZBrush, that's a decent resource. Don't quote me on that. Oh, I'm backed up. Let's see here. Oh, you made it this time, though. Personal channel, YouTube. Yes. Yeah, that's my personal channel. So that'll be my YouTube channel is what I'll stream to if we go and do some texturing and animation with Character Creator and iClone. Smoothing tip. What hotkey was that? To not smooth the object, but only to not smooth the object, but only the polygon mesh. We were doing. I think is what you're talking about. So while we were going, so we'll use this real quick. So right now we have a sheath, and we went through. There's a ZModeler brush. We're going to extrude this out so we get a thickness on there. We could even go through, and there's a geometry crease. We can say crease PG. That'll go ahead and put creases around our polygroups here. So then I'm going to go in here. This is so much easier once you know your hotkeys, but you can go in here to Geometry Dynamic, turn on Dynamic, and then you can say crease level of, say, 1, and then smooth subdiv of 2, and this will give you a preview of what it would look like if you subdivided once with creasing turned on. And by that I mean if you subdivide with your crease on, it'll keep that super sharp edge, right? And then if you subdivide again and your crease turned off after that initial one, that would be a crease level of 1. You can see it kind of holds your edge a little bit, but then it does a fall off. If we increase our crease level to 2, you're going to see it matches our smooth subdiv. So now again, this is our smooth subdiv. If we hit Control D twice, this is what it would look like. It's all fake. You can hit Shift D or turn that dynamic off to get back to your regular scheduled program here. But this is just a preview, and it's super useful when you're hard surface modeling and useful when you're just dialing in what you want your organic shape to be. So in this case, if I want to hold that edge a little more, I'll say crease level of 2, smooth subdiv of 3. And now you can see it kind of gives me a little edge there, has a little bit of a fall off. So that's just a way to have it subdivide up twice, uncrease all, and then subdivide one more time. Didn't really do it. It's just dynamic. But if you like what you see, you can hit apply, and that'll turn it into real subdivisions here. Having said all that, I'm going to say crease level of 1, smooth subdiv of 2. Thank you. And then hit dynamic apply. So that's real geometry. And then I can go in here and start making wrinkles. Now, in here, you can see we got some folds in here. I'll get back to the smoothing question. If I hit W and then go back to BTA is transpose cloth now, I can kind of squeeze these across and we'll start getting those little membrane wrinkles on there. If I want more geometry, all I got to do is hit Control D to subdivide, and now I'll get a little bit, you know, finer wrinkles to kind of start with there. And that's pretty I mean, I don't have to start with that. I can go through here and I can kind of start sculpting in wrinkles. I can go in here with my pinch brush with elasticity turned on, and I can go through here and enhance those wrinkles. And then I can come in here with my transposed cloth. I can even narrow it down to like just this area here, you know, whatever I want to do to kind of start dialing in some clothing here. Some wrinkles like this. You know, it just gives you a good membrane start. Now it did kind of fold this front part here, so if we didn't want that, remember we do have polyframe polygon selection, so we can Control Shift tap this. We can go in here to deformation, polish by feature, open circle. We can polish this out and then Control Shift tap, and that brought us back to our original state kind of. So now we got the big lumpy thing. Now speaking of smoothing, I'm going to hit Control D one more time, so we're getting into details here. I can hold down Shift to smooth, and what that's going to do is it's not going to maintain my volumes. You're going to see when I'm smoothing, it kind of just smooths the heck out of my surface, which is useful. Nothing wrong with that. And in fact, since I have Smooth Stronger set to 1 of my... Okay, keep talking about this. I will teach you this. Hold down Shift, Smooth Brush Modifiers, Weighted Smooth Mode set to 1. So here we're just smoothing the heck out of our object. Now, if you wanted to smooth details, let's say we go back to Standard Brush. I'm going to clone this off. We'll go in here to Spray Alpha 23. So let's say we had details on here and you want to smooth the details out, but you want to maintain your volumes a little better. Hold down Shift. I'm going to turn my Z intensity down just a bit. Hold down Shift, start smoothing, and let go of Shift. That will allow you to keep those volumes but get rid of that detail, as opposed to holding down Shift and then smoothing, and it just obliterates your volumes. So again, Shift, let go of Shift. It's actually, if you want to swap it out so that your default is maintaining your volumes, BS Smooth Alt. Choose Smooth Alt, and now when you hold down Shift, it'll maintain your volumes. When you let go of Shift, I don't know. When I let go of Shift, it actually does Smooth Alt. I don't know. It's supposed to flip the functionality, but whatever. Anyway, that might have been what you're talking about. How you got a quick smoothie? Let's see. What damn standard brush is a custom or a new brush? The damn standard 02. So damn standard, it comes with ZBrush. You get it BD and it'll pop in right there. Damn standard 02. Go to this is Damien's brush. Go to maddamnart.com, and I think Damien Carlisle. Canderly. Sorry, don't butcher that last name. I just know Damien. That'll go to his website, or you can just Google it, Damn Standard Brush, and it'll go to the Gumroad, and you can just download that. And that gives you that really nice. That's the regular Damn Standard, but Damn Standard 02. That'll give you that really nice carve in and then kind of fold out look there. Anyway, we've subdivided up. We got some wrinkles. Again, we can go through here and we can push the cloth around. We can, like, you know, B, C, K, go over here. Now you're all experts. You can go in here to thick skin and push stuff around. We'll change that thickness down quite a bit. So we can kind of push, you know, skin across here. We can use contrast with our contrast brush. If we just want to do the skin on the outside, we can Control Shift tap that polygroup, or what I'd probably do is Control Shift tap the inner polygroup and then Control Shift drag to just show you the outer and the ring here, and then you can kind of move the stuff around. Honestly, I think it's fine. It's about what it is, right? So I'm going to go through here and let's drop down subject level 2 maybe. Subject level 3 maybe. Yeah, we'll push that in. We'll kind of scale that out a bit. We still have transposed cloth, and I'm going to push this back so it's not so... Actually, I'm not going to push it back. I'm going to use my move brush. Oh, let's go out of thick skin. It's like, what's going on? Thick skin's turned on. So move brush, user error, sorry. And we'll go through there. And if we did want to, we could, you know, go through here. This does get kind of tucked underneath that lower lid or lip. And then here, this kind of comes out, and we could go through. Let's go back up to subdivision level 4, maybe. And I'm gonna inflate this around here. We'll do a inflate here, And then also another thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go up to subdivision level 5, and we're going to go into our inflate brush. We're going to crank that intensity up a bit, and we're going to turn on L for lazy mouse. I'm going to drop, oops, 0.25. Drop that lazy radius down to 1, and I'm just going to put like a little inflated skin fold right along that edge there. Something like this. All right, all right. There's a little skin membrane. This is just kind of a void. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go up to subdivision level, I don't know, 4-ish, and we're just going to knock this back a little bit. Again, turn on X symmetry. If we want to, we can also turn on transparency with ghost turned on, and then we can use our move brush. We can kind of see through the object here and sculpt through the object. We'll kind of knock this back just a bit. We don't want it so in our face. And then here, so if I go through here and I use my move brush, it's going to pull everything back, which may not be terrible. But if I want to keep this out, but also knock that thickness back a little bit, we can also go in here to move and then turn on auto masking with back face masking turned on. So now I can go through here, and as I move back, it'll leave my front face masks alone, and we can just move this back and thicken it up. Since we have polygroups, you can also just, you know, hit W, control tap this red polygroup. Is it doing it? Yeah. Control tap that red polygroup in the back and then just move this back. Ooh, we still have transpose claw. BTR. Go back to regular transpose. There we go. Incidentally, since this does come up a bit, if you're ever using your transpose line and it starts, let's turn off X symmetry temporarily, and it starts doing something like this, not that much. Transpose, focal shift up. Huh. You can see how it's kind of bending my mesh around. That's a feature. So if you're getting this behavior and you're like, what's going on with my focal shift? I just want to, you know, move my object around. Just take or use your move brush and just make sure your focal shift's down to -100, and that'll get it back to regular. X symmetry turned on. Yeah, it kind of looks like that, right? Let's see here. Yeah. Cool. When the history gets really long, is there a way to be more precise where you control tap the story or history? You know what? That would be an awesome feature, by the way, is to be able to, I don't think you can zoom in on your history. Usually what I'll end up doing is I'll get to a safe point where I'm like, yeah, I don't ever need to go back to my history states. And then I'll just say, edit, delete older, undo history, and then I can control tap that point in history. But you're right. It's when you have a long line of history, it is difficult to kind of grab a specific point in history because there's a lot of history there. So let's move this back. And again, if we want to thicken, we have backface masking turned on again in our move brush setting. So as I'm moving, it's leaving the front alone, and I'm just thickening that shell. If we don't want that, just turn backface masking. Oops. Backface masking off, topological off as well in this case. And we'll go ahead and just kind of move these back here. Yeah, there we go. But this one, maybe we do want it thicker. I have a hotkey. In fact, I don't even need to see this. This is how crazy I am. You see I have a backface masking button right there. I don't even use it. I just use that as a visual indicator that when I have a brush selected, if I go into like my clay tubes brush and I don't have backface masking on, I'll go ahead and pop that on. One reason I might do that is if I go up here to subdivision level 6 and go into solo mode, and I'm going through here and I'm sculpting, and then let's say I want to dynamesh this. Oops. It could, actually didn't do too bad. Did I have backface masking on? I had it on. Let's turn it off. If I'm going through here and I'm sculpting, and then I turn Dynamesh on, I'll get that hole, that little fragmented. Let's turn this up a little bit. No. You'll start getting these holes in your Dynamesh because the mesh is really thin. So in order to avoid that, when you're sculpting on a thin mesh, you want to make sure you have backface masking turned on. So that way when you're sculpting on one side, it'll ignore the back side. And that's another thing too, is if you ended up with a thin mesh, like, oh, someone forgot to do that. Whoever was working on this model before me, oh wait, that was me. I can still go through here with backface masking turned on. Now make sure, if I hold down shift, you want to make sure backface masking is on for your shift brush too, so you don't smooth out the other side of the object. So we can go through here and we can clean this up. So if you do get a thin mesh and you haven't like dynameshed it yet, you can still go through and you can fix that. But again, like we had here, we can go through here and we can thicken this up with our move brush, backface masking turn on. We can just pull this backside back a little bit, thicken that up. There we go. All right, all right. We got this, we got that. We got some subdivisions here. Not too shabby. What's next? Let's see. Brush setting. They can make the simulation pinch wrinkles directionally like smooth brush directionally. Oh, let me think. So we have a direction on wrinkles, right? And we want to pinch with elasticity with cloth turned on. But we want to... I bet there is. I'm just not smart enough. Because, man, there's so many brush settings. Like, I can't imagine that what you're asking for it isn't doable. Like I said, I'm just not smart enough to know what that would be. And there's also stroke settings in here. So what you could do, this is what I do sometimes. I'll go in here to smooth. So what we're talking about is smooth directional. So we hit our comma key, go in here to brush. We'll go in here to our smooth. Smooth. Go in here to our smooth brush. And we're going to say smooth directional. And I'm just going to open up like samples and maybe even grab stroke. And what I can do is we've used our smooth brush recently and we've moved or smooth alt. Let's say smooth brush. Shift smooth. Yeah. So here's our smooth brush and then here's our smooth directional. So I can just go back and forth between these. So smooth directional and smooth, I think. Smooth directional. Okay, hold down shift. So smooth directional or smooth, here's smooth directional. And I'll just kind of toggle back and forth and see what values change between these. What would that even be? Elasticity? No. Orientation? No. It would, well, maybe surface, maybe. Let's see. Smooth. Tablet pressure modifiers. Yeah, maybe something in here. Curve. So again, smooth directional. Nothing's really changing. Smooth brush. You know why? Because it's a smooth brush, right? Let me see. So here's smooth. Okay, all it's changing is weighted smooth mode. So unfortunately, there's not a directionality setting. It's just in the smooth brush settings that's allowing for that. That's too bad. So in that case, I wouldn't be able to use that trick. But for other brushes, it would work. And also, when I was moving stuff around, I guess this inside piece got left behind. I can just grab this one here. Let's go down to the little one, maybe two. And I'm going to do that again, that polish by feature. Just knock that back here. And then 3, 4. Go ahead and smooth this transition out a little bit. And 5. Be careful when you're moving stuff around. Yeah, I wish I had a better answer for you. Like I said, there's got to be a setting that'll allow you to do that. I'm just not sure what it is. Yeah. Let's see here. Thick skin actually do when it's enabled on subtools. That's, yeah, and that answer right there limits the depth of brush can affect the mesh. If you're ever wondering, you can also go in here to my YouTube channel and type in thick skin. And you'll see here's thick skin clay brush, thick skin hard surface technique. So right in here, you can watch those 2 videos. Boy, those are long videos, Mike. Sorry about that. I'm getting better about that, putting the information up front and then diving in deep later on, so you can at least get the good stuff up front. But you can check those out, and that'll kind of get you caught up in all things thickness of skin. Yeah, but odd concoctions got the lowdown there. So I think we're okay here. So at this point, I would just go through and texture and animate this. Really, I think we're damn close. So cool. Unfortunately, we have a ton of time left, so let's make a baboon head. What do you say? Now what I'm gonna try to do, I don't know that it'll work that well, but I'm gonna go ahead and save this off. Now, if I go in here and do tool save as, it's gonna rename my top subtool. So instead, I'm gonna go up here to file save as. It's gonna save as a project, and we're gonna go ahead and throw this in our co folder called co updated 001. Speaking of, there is a new functionality, save next. So if you want to use file save next or tool save next, if you do _001, it'll append a number. So it'll keep, if you just hit save next, it'll save iteratively for you. It'll just do 002, 003, etc. Oh, I finally got coffee. I'm happy. Okay, so let's make a baboon head. Now the only thing I need for a baboon head is a reference. Yeah, okay, let's see. Baboon head. I just need a profile shot here. I think that'll be a decent one. Maybe a mouth open. Yeah, something like that, right? Yeah, because this is what we're looking at here. So I've already got, you know what? I've got the front decent. You know, I can rotate that around in my spotlight there. Got some good teeth going. I think we can work with this a bit. Yeah, what kind of, let's learn a little bit here. Baboon head. I need that. I need a decent, you know what, a decent 3/4 and a decent profile I think will help. So baboon head open. Yeah, because that's the thing is if I want to do a neutral face, I might skip the neutral face and I might think we might just dive in to just moving stuff around and matching this type of thing. So yeah, let's go nuts. And we can always add the lip stuff here. I think this will be, let me see if we can find some, that's some good reference. This is something I should have prepared beforehand. Sorry about that. That's a good one too. Let me see, save image as, and we'll drop this. Okay, good, that's a JPEG. So let me grab some of these things here. Streaming, avatar, co-reference, new one. So there's a little front-on shot. Here's kind of a 3/4. Yeah, we're coming up JPEGs. At least it's not like web, whatever the heck. Here's a side. This might be enough, man. I think we might be good. Okay, we'll see how this goes. So we've already saved this. I'm going to, we'll see how this turns out. I'm going to keep this head here, and we're going to hide everything except for this head. We're going to go in here to, you know what? All the other pieces in here that we had from the other thing, we can say delete all. So we're going to go in here and we're going to say texture, imports, and I'm going to grab 3 of those images here. So we're going to say streaming. Sorry. There it is. 1, 2, 3. Open. Oops, I should have had my thing turned on. Let's go back here. So we're going to Z this. We don't really need anymore, so we're just going to close out of that. We're going to go back in here to texture. If I would have had that open and then added them, it would have added them automatically, but now I got to go in here and hit the plus sign for all these. Boo-hoo. So here's my front view. If you ever have any black in your image and it goes to transparent, that's a feature, but you can go in here to this intensity and crank that to the right. That'll make your dark blacks dark gray, and that'll make them not transparent. So here is our front view. Here is our side view here. And then here is our 3/4 view. So I'm just going to kind of put these here-ish. And I wonder, I want to bring this one in front order. There we go. Oh, that duplicated. Where is it? In front. There we go. So now we have all of our images here. Now, if I want to manipulate one of these, I have to go through here and select it. So that way I can go through here and just, move around one. However, when I go through here and just drop the opacity down, it does it for all three. Or if you wanted to scale all three, instead of scaling just one, you can go out here and touch nothing, and then you can move around all three and scale all three. But there's my reference images, right? So now I'm going to go through here. I have Z in my widget mode, hit Z again, and now I can go through here and I can just start lining up my features, and we're going to push and pull some geometry around real hard. So we'll go down to subdivision level 1, we'll say delete higher. And I'm going to go back into movie timeline show. So that's for y'all, movie timeline show. I'm going to drag that dot out of there. We don't need it anymore. I'm going to put another dot in there. A little premature, but I'm going to go through here and I'm going to move this head around here and we'll kind of match this. We'll put another dot. And then for this front 3/4, we'll go through here and we'll put another dot here. So that way I can use my arrow keys to kind of snap back between my reference here. Whew. So now let's go through here and just real quick, we're going to leave the eyes alone. So mask, lasso. And honestly, like trying to push this geometry around is going to be probably pretty futile, like the Borg might say. Any Trekkie fans in here? But you know what? We'll give it a shot. So I'm going to go through here. I'm just going to pull this geo way out. And the mouth too, you know what I need? I need to add some reference here. So I'm going to say add local image. I need to look at, it's nice to have the spotlight reference images in ZBrush, but I also need it out here where I can see it. So I'm just going to put this right next to my screen here. There we go. And we'll start maneuvering this into place. So again, if we're looking up this way, we've got the eyes here. This goes out about yay far-ish. The nose kind of tilts back a little bit here. And then also those nostrils kind of just, well, it kind of depends. In the excited state, it looks like they kind of widen open, and then in the default state, they kind of slit closed a little bit. So we'll go in here with our clay brush or clay build-up brush. You know, we'll use our clay tubes here to go through here, and I'm going to open up this mouth just a little bit here. I'm going to go in here to move brush with our topological auto masking topological range. I am gonna open the mouth temporarily. We can also hit W and control drag down. Again, BT transpose classic. That'll give us the little bit of a harsher mask fall off there. And then we can use transpose or not to kind of go through here. And we'll kind of just smooth this out here. And we'll kind of, man, these things got some big mouths. And then this whole area up here is all built up, right? Yeah. And again, it probably easier to start with just Dynamesh and just get your volumes in. I'm gonna try to, eyes are a lot smaller, a little more rounded, and also tilted down a little bit here. Topological off. While we're doing this, if we do want to, go in here to our base eye, we can scale these down too a little bit. Remember, turn on your L sim with dynamic turned off. That'll scale on its local axis here, and turn that base eye back on. And again, if I was interested in doing a neutral face, I could do that. But honestly, I think we'll just do the excited state. We'll not mess around too much with trying to make this animatable. I can always go back in and make an animatable version. That's not terribly difficult. So we got the start of this face here. This all goes back. I need a little more resolution, so I'm going to hit Control D to subdivide here, and then isolate this again, and then we'll go back in here and just start carving in. So again, dam standard 02. We'll put a little line across here, and so this is all fur, by the way, right through here. So really, and luckily all I really need is the muzzle. So we'll kind of bring this in, and then a little clay buildup here. And this is where ZRemesher and Dynamesh would come in handy. Unfortunately, if we did want to animate this, we can't change the vert order because we couldn't inherit all the shapes that we would get for free, which, you know, you'll have to decide if that's useful to you or not. But so also here, we're going to carve in along the top here. And again, I'm just making guesses, and then we'll go through and we'll test our guesses against our reference here. So again, clay brush here, go through here, build this up. Because this whole thing is kind of flat. This whole area here. They're so interesting. And then this lip kind of flips up. So needs plenty of resolution here in the geometry because it does a lot of movement, but it still can go back to a pretty decent neutral state. Also, we do got teeth in here. We can go through and kind of mess around. So we'll go ahead and let's go for broke. Let's go in here to our mask lasso, Control Tap to soften that out a little bit. We'll drop this down, and we'll go ahead and start flipping that lip up over the teeth. Now, in order to know where these things are, we need to, let's turn off lazy mouse, drop our Z intensity down on our inflate brush, and we'll just inflate those lips back up. So let's go ahead and get some of our teeth back. So we got our lower teeth here, which we can position, and I'm going to stretch those way back here, and I think it actually kind of stays relatively narrow. We'll turn on X symmetry here. Doesn't go too broad here, so I'm going to actually bring this in a bit. And then same thing for the upper teeth here. Upper. Turn on transparency with ghost. We can see what we're doing. Stretch those out here, and then those monster canines. So 1, 2, X symmetry turned on. Scoot these out just a tad. Yeah, something like this. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and then these ones here. These don't have polygroups. I could make polygroups. I'm going to do a manual. I'm going to Control-Shift drag over a little piece of that canine, Control-Shift-A, Control-W. That'll give me easy access to this if I want it. W, Control-Tap that polygroup here, and then we can go through here and we can just kind of scale this down or move it out. So now let's again use our move brush with AccuCurve turned on. Again, curve, AccuCurve. And that'll go through and allow us to pull to points. Hold down Shift, we'll drop our Z intensity down on our smooth brush, and we'll kind of smooth that into canines. Now these things, yeah, they do bow, they do go a pretty decent curve here. So let's turn off transparency mode. And then same thing for the bottom. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then these bad boys here. They go out. They go up this way and then kind of out. Man, these things are scary. These are some scary dudes. Let's see, bend this back. And then these all get inflated too. So one thing you can do, well, I'll just isolate this and we'll inflate it, but there is a new masking option. You can mask a piece of an object here, and then you can mask Control, I have it set to Control Open Bracket, but you can mask all vert welded parts of the object. That's under your masking menu. New feature. And then here too, we can also go through here, and I'm going to actually widen this whole bit out. Control D to subdivide. Control D to subdivide here. We do have a tongue. Let's go in here and grab that base tongue here, W. Go ahead and stretch it out just a bit. Yoink. Yoink. We could do is if we had to go into our move brush, we can go through here. Let's hit Control D once just to give us a little more resolution. We can go in here to bend curve. Oh, it has multiple subject levels. Let's not hit Control D. Bend curve. We can add some resolution points, and then you can go through here, and you can use this to kind of go through and give yourself a cool little tongue. And in fact, we could even go through here. There's a twist functionality. So you can go through here and kind of twist these little points around like so. And get yourself a nice dynamic little screaming tongue. That's a little bit much. We'll knock that back just a bit here. I'm just looking at this reference, and yeah, their tongues are pretty intense. But okay, so back here, we got that lower lip here that stays pretty high here, but then kind of just stretches around the bottom of the lip here. So we'll go ahead and flatten this out a little bit and just kind of move this back. Actually, this is a little bit broader. And then the upper mouth here, again, these kind of start peeling back. Show you a lot of that upper gum there. It just kind of sits against those teeth. And they kind of have, well, I guess it's about right. I'm going to go a little wider on the teeth here. We'll turn that tongue back on. Go back in here. And let's start building up this a little bit more. And also, this might need a little bit wider. So let's go back to our reference here. We'll hit Z. And we'll kind of, so we can see that our face here, I'm going to fine tune this just a little bit here. So if our eyes are this big-ish, you know, are obviously, now we're also not in perspective, so this is going to kind of mess things up a little bit, but we can get close. So here's our eyes here, and then, okay, so we have X symmetry turned on. I'm going to go through here, and we have subject level 2, that's fine. I kind of don't want to touch the eyes. I kind of want to leave those alone. I don't want to push those too much. I'm going to go through here, do just a soft mask here, and maybe a little harsher mask around that eye. And then again, we'll just push this back, invert that mask, and we'll just kind of yoink here, and then back here. This head's tilted down a little bit more. And I'm just dragging out that dot just so I can kind of match. And then again, now that we have a little more info, I can again match these eyes up just a bit. Again, we don't have perspective. I'm going to turn on perspective. It gets kind of weird around the corners here. We don't really need that. It's fine. I can just eyeball it. So we'll kind of moosh this into place here. And again, we'll just update this one here. So I'm going to pull this out. Pull this bottom out here so it matches. You know what we're missing? Not really. I guess we do have that profile here a bit. But man, that is gigantic. I guess this is the most closest to the profile that we have here. But I think I feel like we did have a decent, I can always bring in one real quick here. Let me see, Baboon head profile. There we go, save image as. Not, open image in new tab. Sorry, they come in as weird print screen. This will give us good ear reference too. So we will say share file. Reference here. Profile. Texture. So we have our textures all lined up. I'm going to go in here and hit Z texture imports, and I'm just going to grab that pure profile image here. And I'm going to scale this down just a bit, put it over here. Hit Z, and then I can add and kind of turn this down a little bit here. So if our eyes are that big-ish, this head needs to come down quite a bit. But first, let's go ahead and set, we got our ears and our eye and our cheekbone generally into place here. And now this mouth is open, so I might need to fudge it a little bit and kind of tilt it down a bit because we're just looking for the length profile. Here, I don't know, we can set another dot in here. There's all that muscle and volume here. We'll go ahead and build that back up. There we go. Seems so crazy long. And we'll widen this out quite a bit. And we'll point this up a little bit. And a little more brow ridge, right? So clay build up, go through there. And this whole process is kind of ugly baby phase where you just kind of go through and mush stuff around and match things and mush stuff around some more and match things. And then I think what's happening is we're gonna end up taxing this muzzle's just a little too much for this geometry. I could maybe massage it into place eventually and get it somewhat vaguely usable, but I have a feeling we might be kind of SOL in that regard. But some of this reference too, like that's long, and obviously this is way that cranium way down. It's like right above the brow, basically. Jeez. In that case, you know, I'm going to knock this back just a tiny bit. And then we'll move these things out here. And that tongue. Now, while I'm doing all this moving, we got to remember that we do have other aspects. So we go in here, this thing is kind of squeezing through this opening, right? So I'm going to go back in here to move multiple, Control Shift drag. We're going to move over all this stuff, Control Shift Alt to get rid of, Control Shift drag, Control Shift Alt, Control Shift Alt. There we go, Control Shift Alt. Okay, there we go. So now we can go through we can just move, let's move the membrane back to a little bit, and then all right, we kind of got a baboon head coming through. This here was for the human head, and now that we have that cranium, that super low cranium in here, we might have to fudge this a little bit. I don't want to scale it up necessarily, so I'm going to actually have this kind of conform and I guess the word would be schlorp to the new opening here to our baboon head. We'll go ahead and turn that off. And the eye wet here. Something like this. This would be the start of our baboon head. Whew. Okay. Let me get caught up here. Let's see. Yes, sliding over. Let's see. I might have missed one here. This is more of a general question than a ZBrush specific one. Shoot it out. Oh, okay. Good morning from Orlando. I used to hail, well, I wouldn't hail from Orlando, but I lived in Orlando for a couple years working at EA Tiburon. Shout out to my EA Tiburon friends. I think some of them still work there, I think. Studying game graphic production, I find myself being really slow in my process. Do you have any tip on how to get faster? Just be mindful of how you're creating. And so I just finished, this is fresh in my brain. But for example, I just finished my CGMA, CG Master Academy class this last term. And all my class is just a bunch of techniques that just to show you what's available and what you can do in ZBrush. It's not for anything specific. You know, you get to choose what you want to work on. Then I kind of help you string together what's there to turn into what you're talking about is basically, if you only know how to do one thing, you can do anything in ZBrush with Dynamesh and Claybrush. Anything, almost. But it might not be the most elegant solution for the final result on what you want to get to. So sometimes it's nice to have extra tools in your tool belt. So how you get those extra tools in your tool belt is you try to make something. And ideally, if you're trying to make something, you try and make some, well, you don't try to do this, but if you can, look for a tutorial, because there's so many tutorials now. If you're trying to make something specific, like sculpt a baboon head, well, maybe you can't find a specific tutorial on making a baboon head, but maybe there's a gorilla head or a chimpanzee head or even just a human head, really. And then you could go through and do a tutorial on that from somebody that you like, their work and how they work, and then you just add what they do to your tool belt. Their process, they'll go through and they'll string together, you know, ZBrush has a lot of options, right? And the ability to kind of look at a problem and go, you know what, if you did this plus this plus this, that would get you there, the final result, faster and easier and less destructive, and more ready for production than you know, Claybrush and Dynamesh. You know, so that's kind of how you learn, I guess, workflow or pipeline, maybe tricks. Let's go ahead and make this a little bit more, because again, this thing folded down, so I'm going to kind of fleshy this up a little bit here. And we'll go back up. Also, little stuff like, you know, you don't have to attack everything in terms of Dynamesh, like I was talking about here. So if you did want to, you know, knowing that ZRemesher exists and then projecting your details back so you don't lose them, and then having subdivision history so you can go in, and then knowing that dynamic stuff, all the stuff we've done today, just knowing it exists, and then you'll start using it, and then you'll figure out like, I did it in this order and it didn't quite work that well, or it was really slow, or I had to go back, you know, backtrack a bunch and redo a lot of work. And then you won't do that next time. You'll remember the order of operations that's a little bit more successful what you're trying to create. But really, it's either picking something to do and learning from it and being mindful of what you're doing and what's falling short and what's fast and what works, or supplement that with watching someone else who does something all the time, maybe, watching what they do, and then taking their process, stealing it. But it's, you know, if they learn from somebody and you can learn from them, learn from their process and use it to your advantage. And, you know, those would be all the little fast, fun things that you can do. let's see, let's hit Control D one more time, because again, we've maxed out, we've really done a number on this geometry here. Well, I'm going to keep going, but again, we're really stressing this geo, and at the end of the day, I might, just for a quick render, might go in and just, like I was talking about, dynamesh this, or zero mesh this, clean it up, not worry about the vert order here, because obviously this thing ain't going to animate that well. So now we're kind of looking at, and also another thing we need to kind of worry about is these edge loops go in specific areas, so when it animates, it's predictable as to like where the labial fold would be on this monster creature, baboon. So, you know, I could load in a texture that goes to this geometry and make sure I'm conforming to those standards, but incidentally, if you want to know more about that, again, my ArtStation page, well, here's the ZBrush What's New we were talking about. Reallusion Character Creator has some interesting stuff. Here's all my live streams that I've posted in my portfolio here. So again, more resources for you. And then also my YouTube channel. If you just go to the home page and scroll down, here's the ZBrush What's New, Reallusion Character Creator playlist, live stream all the episodes, and then a bunch of other stuff. And always remember, you can go in here and search any term. So there's that as a resource as well. Shield the Monkey Brain, yes. I haven't watched Temple of Doom and since I was a young teen. Ooh, hold on just a second. Let me. Okay. Let's see. Hello. Is one of ZBrush workshops don't have input overlay so people can better understand the process. My hotkeys wouldn't really correspond with your hotkeys, I suppose. And I always try to shout it out too. Like if I'm going to go in here and say, I go into my custom menu a lot, and I'll say, you know, geometry, modify topology, delete hidden, instead of going in here every time and saying, you know, and I say that a million times a day, geometry, modify topology, delete hidden. There it is. You know, so I try to shout out what I'm using. I haven't found a really good, I mean, and again, I think, I don't know, if it would be helpful, I could get a keyboard thing, but especially when I'm just going, and I'm hitting like Alt-C. Oh, Mike hit Alt-C. What does that do? Let me go Google that for 40 minutes. Alt-C is nothing to you. Alt-C is a hotkey that I use for clay brush. It's not useful to you at all. You know, so that's where if I would like, oh, I'm using ZModeler brush, BZM. I don't hit BZM to use ZModeler brush. I hit Alt-Q. Alt-Q means nothing to you because you can set hotkeys in ZBrush. Speaking of, you know, getting caught up on the usual stuff here, this intro to ZBrush here, if you want to know how to make custom menu, custom hotkeys and stuff. Let's see this. Let's go in here to view full playlist. So in here, if we just do Control F, we can do custom. And there's custom brushes, go down one. There we go. Custom interface and menus. And then that's video 42. And then hotkeys. Anybody? There's 10. So video 10. So in this video series right here, that'll get you kind of caught up. And that'll also help your speed a little bit. So here's my basic thing is if I want to get, if I'm using something all the time, it's a hotkey. And that's usually like clay brush, standard brush, trim dynamic, clay tubes, blah, blah, blah. If I use something a lot, but not enough to warrant a hotkey, I'll go in here and I'll make a custom menu with a bunch of stuff in here that I use a lot. And even if I don't use it a ton, but I still want access to it occasionally, I'll have a little sub menu in here. So if I'm using Z-sphere topology, I'll just have a little Z-sphere topology menu. If I use it enough to warrant like going in here and saying like, oh, I want to, it's the cool one. Let's go in here to mask pin. And I want to go in here and like make a mask area. And I don't want to fill this in manually. I can go in here and analyze region, mask the center, fill region. That is under your masking menu. And I don't use it. And also like, I don't use it enough to put it in here maybe, but I can just throw it over here in my interface, right? What else do I put in here? Oh, I cleaned up a lot of this over here. Incidentally, you can also hold down Control and drag these around, but like I don't use Like, I don't go in here and zoom in my document a ton. I don't use any of the navigation. I just navigate in here. I don't go in here and navigate on the side. You know, that's a waste of space, so I just get rid of all those. Just to clean that up a little bit. Let's make these eyeballs. These eyeballs are actually a little big according to my reference. I think. Let's scale those down just a tiny bit more, and I'm just going to take these and drop them down. And also along here, sorry, I'm getting distracted by looking at my reference and then look at what I'm doing. These are a little more well defined, and again, because we're opening our eyes, it's the flesh there is bunching up. So we'll go ahead and define these eyelids a little bit more. And, you know, considering we started with, you know, basically a human head and then tried to turn it into something like this, it went okay. And again, I'm just trying to find, half the battle is finding decent reference. Don't underestimate gathering reference, and try not to do it live during a live stream because it's really boring. Sorry about that. But we do what we can. And then, yeah, so when this is open, or when this is closed, the mouth is like here, but then when it opens, it goes like all the way back here. So huge range of motion here. And again, I guess if we're going for broke, let's go ahead and open this up, man. So let's say, let me look at this real quick. Yeah, we got to open this mouth more. So what I'm going to do, we're going to tilt back. We're going to do it the easier way. So I'm going to go through here. I'm going to mask this and then control tap to blur that. And we're going to say, as I rotate this down, I can rotate this jaw down, and I can also go in here to move multiple. So we're moving the tongue, teeth, and jaw at the same time. And we'll go ahead and open this up quite a bit. And then again, with move multiple, I'm going to grab all the head pieces here, including the eye. And we'll go ahead and rotate all of this here. Okay. This lower jaw, or lower teeth here needs to be, oops, let's go ahead and move multiple now. There we go. Push this back a bit. Tongue needs to be extended and back here. And maybe thickened and moved. And we go through then, yeah, kind of make these teeth what they need to be. They're kind of little pods now, not overly successful. We'll go through here. We'll kind of thin this out a bit. So standard brush, smooth. What even piece is this? Yeah, just the inside of the mouth. That actually kind of works surprisingly well. When we're just moving stuff around, that's kind of what happens there. Big old stretchy area here. And all right. And this gets really inflated, like insanely inflated. To the point where it doesn't even look real. Mine's not even as exaggerated as what I'm looking at, you know, here. But we'll go through here, and yeah, these lines just kind of dig in here. And then this nose, you know what, we're going to flare. In the reference, it's not too flare, but I'm going to go ahead and flare these out a little bit like I'm looking at. Or I should say the avatar reference isn't this flared, but I'm going to go ahead and flare these nostrils a bit. And they kind of go to a like a point through here, maybe. It kind of depends on what you're looking at, but yeah, something like this. And then in the nostrils too, you can see little workings, little inner workings here of little nostril detail. And then again, this lip's gonna be tight, up over the the gums here. And then even the gums themselves, you know, when the teeth, get rid of that. When the teeth come in, this is actually kind of accurate. We can go through here on these gums. We can isolate the gums. So again, we can make a poly group for those gums. Grab a little piece, Control Shift A, Control W, and then we can just isolate that, mask and invert. And we'll go through here with our standard brush, and like where the teeth are, maybe the clay brush, it kind of builds up here, and then in between the teeth, it puts a ridge. It puts a ridge. There is a ridge that exists. Now, interestingly, this tooth here is really more back into the side here, and actually a little bit thinner. These are like little daggers. Whew. Remind me never to mess with an angry baboon, or even one that's not angry. I'm not going to mess with it either. I'm not messing with baboons. Not going to happen. So here we got teeth here. We got a little more space because this kind of gets its own thing here. Oops. It's kind of got its own big canine lump here. We'll do a little bit of an inflate. There we go. So that kind of stands on its own there. And then kind of the same deal on that lower tooth. I don't have a great reference image of that, but yeah, that's fine. So now this one here, this one, see, is that wide enough? Sorry. And this is where it's not all that interesting. It's just finding good reference, matching the reference, making minor adjustments, tweaking, and just sculpting. This is where, like, if I was gonna post this would all be time lapse, and it will be, and everybody would be like, "Oh my gosh, that Michael Pavlovich, he's so fast." And I'm like, yeah, after I edit myself and make it go 15x faster than what I do in real life, then yeah, I guess I am a little faster. These teeth, yeah, these need to be broadened out just a bit. So we'll go ahead and that feels a little better. And then again, these lips are tight. A good step bottom jaw there when it's yelling, hooting and hollering, as we say in the South. And then go through here, go through here. All right, I think we're at a decent spot here. What time is it? Oh, we still got some time. I say this morning's dragging. Usually by now I'm like, oh, I'm 10 minutes over. It's like, no, we got time to make some happy little baboon faces. And these teeth need to be a little broader, so we'll unmask and we'll stretch this out a little bit, and then I'll bring this in just a tad. I'm just kind of massaging back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. What looks right? What looks wrong? Let's go ahead and knock this soft palette back just a tad. There we go. So now we've got our two variations. I'm going to have one with the mask with the big painted, this thing. We'll have one version like this that I can actually use, you know, iClone with and go through and do my facial capture. And this one, I don't know. Maybe it'll work, maybe it won't. I'd probably sit down and recreate it without the judgmental eyes of a live stream audience watching me sculpt. It's a little nerve-wracking, I'll be honest, but only because I find it boring to think about people watching me sculpt. But you get the idea. There's our little thing here. Hello from France. God, everybody lives in such cooler places than me. Sitting here in Austin, Texas. Austin's okay. How do you add a new dot in the movie timeline? Yeah. So we got our movie. So just catching up here. Movie timeline show in your menu, movie timeline show. And then if you want to store like this right here. You just go in here and you just click, and then there's a new dot. So then you can use your arrow keys to kind of cycle through your dots. And then if you want to get rid of a dot, you can just drag it out and then it's deleted. Usually what I'll do is I'll bring our reference back. So we'll go through our reference here. And if I've done major changes, like we've moved the head around and stuff, what I'll do is I'll go back through and I'll kind of okay, yeah, because my mouth is way open, but then his nose is down. So I got to kind of pick, like, do I want to match the eyes or do I want to match the muzzle on this one? And in this one, I might just want to match like the muzzle area here. So I'll go through here. Oof. And I might be kind of off, but we'll choose this. And so here's my old one. I'm going to drag that off and then boop, put a new dot in there. So now when I go back to that one, it'll snap to that new one. So I'm not a slave to my reference here, but I don't know, kind of I am. It's good to keep yourself honest, right? Here we're gonna, and again, these aren't all to scale. I didn't go through here and match them. So what I'll do is I'll just kind of take a best guess. Here's the eye, here's the end of the nose. Yeah, you know, that's generally where things go. Let's get rid of this thing here. And you can see, oh, my teeth are a little small, you know, and my mouth could be way more open. But we'll go ahead and drag that dot out and we'll put a new dot in there. And then finally, back here to this little guy here. And now we've got, again, just trying to match the eyes and the general features and proportions here. And again, I don't have perspective on. So having said that, if you do have an image in here and you're matching something and you do have the focal length of what the image was shot with, you can go in here to draw and you could, you know, turn on perspective obviously, and then go in here to draw and you can change the focal length of your camera. Now, having said that, I wonder if it's, am I crazy? This feels like this should be doing something. Oh yeah. Maybe because the scale I'm working at, that's kind of acting weird, but anyway. That's how you do dots. Let's see here. Let me get caught up here. Hello. And if I miss your question, I apologize. I'm not ignoring it. I'm just losing it here in the stream. Customize pop-up menu, which I use Alt-C, but it doesn't work sometimes. What's the best shortcut you use for customize pop-up menu? My pop-up menu is Alt-A. Alt-C is set to clay brush, but I think Alt-C should work pretty consistently. Whenever I hit Alt-C, it's always clay brush. What can sometimes happen is when you load up ZBrush, your custom menu won't be in here. So you can either restart ZBrush and it'll pick it up, or you can go in here to, where is it? Config, load UI, and then go to wherever your users public documents ZBrush data 2024 Z startup custom user interface 2024 config. If you load this up, that'll load up. That'll make sure that because what can happen is if ZBrush sometimes loads up and it doesn't grab your custom menu. If it doesn't do that, then your hotkeys not going to work because your custom menu doesn't exist. So you can either restart ZBrush or do what I just did in preferences, config, load UI, and then go to that directory and load it up, and then that should grab it for you. And then your hotkey should work. Island of Dr. Moreau. That was that Val Kilmer? And who's that old Hollywood guy? I forget his name. I feel like the making of that movie was more interesting than the movie itself, but I could be wrong. I could be thinking of another one. Let's see here. Sorry, I'm having a hard time with my brain here. Started watching your Visit ZBrush play. That's really amazing. Thank you. Gave everyone ZBrush multiple times, but your explanation just made it easier for me. Excellent. Yeah, so, and again, this isn't the only intro to ZBrush, but hopefully it kind of lays out the basics in a fairly linear way. So if you just follow along, and again, this is all part of that, put those tools in your tool belt, understand what it does, maybe give it a shot, kind of bury it in your brain a little bit easier, a little bit more fully. And if you want to go crazy, not crazy, but like when I'm taking notes, I don't have a, I can show you a little sneak peek here. So if I'm learning something new, I'll have a Miro board. We talk about this in the live stream usually, but here's my Miro board when I was learning Character Creator, going through and watching videos and taking notes and going through documentation and taking notes. And then I can go through here and I can search things. I can put them into categories here. This one got a little big because there's a lot to learn. Depending on how deep you want to go, you can stay surface level and just get some stuff done. But I wanted to do a deep dive, so I ended up having a ton of notes from a ton of different sources, also using it for game production, so having to go through a bunch of pipeline stuff, which if you're just using it for animation and making stuff. But anyway, if I'm learning something, I'm taking notes. And when I'm writing stuff down, I'm trying stuff. And while I'm doing something, like these things over here, when I'm doing an article or I'm going through a process, I'm taking notes, and while I'm working, I'm saying, okay, this step and this step. Oops, that didn't work so well. I'll go back through my notes, because if I stop doing something and then I come back and I'm like, okay, I want to do this again, but and then I start doing it and I'll be, I forgot to do that one step. I just cost myself 40 minutes. It's way faster to take a couple extra minutes now while you're going through a process and learning and getting your steps in the right order. Write it down, put those notes somewhere. And then you can always refer back to it. Another thing too, this is something that we'll bring up, if you want to do a hard surface in ZBrush, for example, I'll take some notes here. So here's, let me see, share, copy link. I'll just, I'll have notes that I've taken from other summits, and I'll just kind of compile them. And, people have videos, and I'll link to those videos to their ArtStation page and examples of them doing their thing. And then just kind of keep a running list of notes in here. For example, ZBrush hard surface notes. So go through there and you can, write stuff down. For me, anyway, this is how I learn, is I do, and while I'm doing, I write down an overview of what I'm doing. I know it's boring and I know it sucks, but just take the extra 2 seconds. Take the extra 5 minutes. It's not that short, but take a couple extra minutes, write it down. That helps it stick it in your brain better. And then teach it, and that'll stick it in your brain better. And then live stream it, that'll stick it in your brain better. And then do it a lot, that'll stick it in your brain better. And then that'll help, especially when you're getting acclimated to a new program. For me anyways, that's how I have to do it. Some people are way smarter than me, and they can just watch something once. They're like Mozart. They can listen to something and then boom, it's buried in their brain, and then they just execute and they're golden. That's not me. My brain barely works as it is, so I have to go through all those steps in order to kind of stick it in there. Hotkeys, speaking of, so we just loaded our custom interface, right? That was in our ZBrush data. So in your user public document ZBrush data 2024, we have our Z startup custom user face config. In here, you have a hotkeys folder. Here's my hotkeys. Standard brush is Alt S. Move brush is Alt W. Pav custom, my custom menu is Alt A. Move Accu is the move brush. That's the other thing too. You can have a move brush and have a hotkey assigned to that, Alt W. Make a new version of the move brush. So you go in here, basically, here's my move brush. Go in here and say curve, Accu curve turned on. Brush, save as. Go into your, it's in the custom brush is too in the intro to ZBrush series, but go in here to ZBrush 2024 Z startup. Brush presets. If you save any brush variant in here, it'll load up with ZBrush. So now when I load up ZBrush and go to my brush menu, I have a Move Accu brush that I can assign Control-Alt-Tap that and assign that to Alt-V. So when I do Alt-W, that'll be my move brush without Accu curve. Alt-V is a variant of my move brush with Accu curve turned on. Ba-dum-bum. H-Polish, Alt-H, Inflate, Alt-I, Pinch, Alt-Y, Trim Dynamic, Alt-T, Z-Modeler, Alt-Q, Control-E, Merge Down, Control-Alt-F, Fill Object with Color, and then I have my custom brushes in here, like my insert primitives. So instead of going in here to BI, brush, insert, IMM primitives, hit M, and use these, you can make your own primitive brush. So I do Alt-E to my own primitive brush, and then I have a bunch of specific spheres and cubes and planes and cylinders and bend curves that I like to use for stuff all the time. 3D modelers, AI advancing. I think in the future we'll be able to do that, and we will all be obsolete. Probably, right? That's just how the world works. We're all what was the? We're all buggy drivers, right? We're all the horse and carriage industry. Advancements in technology happen, and then we all kind of roll with the punches. And it's interesting now because I think we're moving a lot faster than we have. Let me move this down a little bit so these shells match up. I think we're moving faster than I don't know. We move pretty fast. Like, we went from the Wright brothers to landing on the moon in the blink of an eye from a geologic timescale, right? I course, on a geologic timescale, everything happens in a blink of an eye from a human perspective, but you know what I mean. Things move fast, and I think AI is one of those things too. Man, I really messed this up. AI is one of those things where humans, I talk like I'm not one of them, but I'm human adjacent. We don't have a really good idea. Like, we don't understand what a billion is when we think about distances between stars or dollars or minutes. We kind of like, ooh, a billion's a lot. Our baboon brains can't really comprehend what a billion actually is, and we don't really comprehend what exponential really means. And I think AI is one of those things. Like, right now it's generative or whatever, but like, if it ever gets to the point where it goes Skynet and it learns at a geometric rate, exponentially hemimetopolanoia uzi 9mm, once it gets to that point and it learns faster than we can comprehend and change and adjust and adapt, as again, we're all human. We only know human stuff. Speaking of, let's go ahead and fix this filtrum here. So when it gets to that point where it outpaces what we can comprehend, that's when it gets interesting. And that's when we get plugged into a big matrix battery. By then it'll have better. I mean, that's the other thing too, is like, I would hope that my job will probably be cooling off the AI tanks or whatever. I don't know. It may never happen. I'm not going to worry about it. Why would I worry about it? I'm busy having fun making yelling baboon heads on a live stream. But it'll be interesting for sure, right? Maybe it'll be interesting. Maybe it won't, because that's also the other part of life, is the banality of evil or whatever. It's, I don't know. Nothing's really that interesting. Nothing's supernatural or nothing's. It's all just physics and what's the word I'm looking for? Human nature. It's like, it's interesting from a storytelling perspective, but at the same time, if you take a step back, it's kind of boring. It's kind of samey. It's kind of predictable. And even interesting concepts like good and evil turn out to be like, that's actually just, it's people being people. It's not that interesting in a weird way. But I don't know. I really don't know. And which makes sense too, because why would I have the answer to any of these questions? I'm just some schmuck who makes models. Generally poorly. Not even great. Just okay. Now, a great modeler would have all the answers. That's the other thing too, is like, just because somebody's good at something doesn't mean they know anything. I'll include myself in that for sure. Oh, this person's smart because they have a lot of ZBrush hotkeys. Yeah, I don't know anything. What do I know? And always keep that in mind too. If you really are impressed by somebody and their acumen in a certain field, doesn't mean they can program their VCR to stop flashing 12 or whatever the equivalent is for Gen Z and Gen Alpha. That's my ancient millennial reference. Let's see, Control D here. So yes, you can be smart in a very narrow area, but that doesn't really mean you know anything. And again, I'll put myself in that category. little tongue divot here. You know what, let's subdivide. Tongues are fun. So let's go through here and we're going to subdivide this up. And we're going to, let's go ahead to dam standard. Let's go back to our dam standard 02. We'll put a nice little ridge down the middle here. And then along the side, there's some like meat that kind of goes over and kind of flips. And again, I am taxing this geometry. And if I wasn't trying to keep a vert order, I could Z-remesh and project like we did earlier on in this. But I guess since I've gone this far, I might as well try and maintain some sort of vert order. And then again, going back into our clay tubes and clay buildup. And now, again, if I was actually going to use this geometry, I would want to keep it in a neutral state, because when you go to animate, that's when you can go through and twist and push and pull. You don't want to make this your neutral, because then that's your default pose. And if you open the mouth and the tongue sitting there going sideways and curled, you got to uncurl it in animation, and that's not great. Let's go ahead and uvula there. Bloop. Yoink. Let's push that back a little bit. It's not so prominent. It's a cool feature. I don't hate it. It's just right there. And then this stuff needs to be pushed back, because that's actually part of that little back membrane there, not part of the mouth bag or anything. All right, all right. Well, we're coming up on time. I think we did okay. How do you get to be a ZBrush sponsored artist? Oh, I don't know. I mean, I'm not sponsored. They let me live stream because they put up with my shenanigans. I'm not sure how to get to be onto a live stream, to be a live streamer for Pixelogic. I'm not sure about that. It's been so long. I don't even know what they do now. But I'm not sponsored. I just put stuff on YouTube. Etiquette. Let's see. Do you have a sort of etiquette you follow when you're making notes in a Miro about different software? Not specifically. Do I still have a board up? Basically, what I'll do is what usually gets me into a software is video. So I'll go through, oh, this video caught my eye. Well, let me break this down, this process. And if I want to dive deeper, that's when I didn't used to do this. You know, I don't know if it's like a environmental or genetic thing, but like going back and reading the documentation, it's like, I don't want to read all that documentation. I get the gist of it. Just let me know what I need to know. And I can just know those 4 things. I don't care about documentation. But then the more I got into software, the more I was like, you know what? I would go years doing something an incredibly stupid way. If I had just spent 15 minutes reading the documentation, it would have saved me months of my life, you know? So that's kind of documentation, reading it and organizing it in your brain kind of sucks, but boy, it pays off and exponentially down the line. So I don't really have a etiquette. It's basically just whatever makes, and that's why I like Miro, because when I do something in Google Doc or in a Notion page, it's very linear. And then it gets, if I want to, I was like, oh, you know what? I can't see the data in parallel. So what I like about Miro is I can make data in columns, and then I can take a step back and go, you know what? This data and this data is good. Let me move stuff around. Let me reorganize. Let me grab this chunk and move it over here. So I'm like taking document pages and putting it where it needs to go in ways that make sense. And then at the end of the day, then I can go through and make all of that stuff in Miro into a linear page after I've gone through and shuffled it around a little bit. Miro makes it easier to do that. So whatever feels right, I think, is the answer to that. In ZModeler, when you're closing convex holes, is there a way to get it back to the flat default that stays to the last iteration where the curvature is active? I think so. Let's do a test. Quick save. Edit. Control N. Maybe not. You always have good questions, John, that usually mean there's no answer, it doesn't, but because you know what you're doing, but let me try. So I have went into Polymesh 3D, and we want to close a convex hole. So let's go through here. Let's do a group by normal, ZModeler brush, BZM, hover over face, inset, polygroup all, legacy. And we'll pull this in, and we'll pull this in a little bit too, and we'll go back in here and we'll say like, Q mesh polygroup all, hold down shift, and we'll kind of pull that up. You know what? We'll switch this back to inset. Zoop. Okay, so now we want to make a little convex hole there. So I'm going to control shift tap that polygroup, invert it, delete hidden. Hover over an edge, we'll switch this to close convex hole, and we're going to pull out, and that'll make this a little rounded thing here. Now, to your point, if we go down here to this side here, and this is a feature, if we delete hidden and then tap, that will go ahead and match the spans and curvature of what we just did. So you can go through very quickly and go tap, 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 and they'll all be consistent. It's a very good feature. But if you want to go back to the flat state, I think what you have to do is like drag, instead of just tapping, oops. Let's do that again. So delete hidden. So when we click and drag and pull and make that curvature and then we tap, yes, we get that result. If we want to make it flat, instead of tapping, just tap and drag, and that should revert back to the flat state. Like that, like I just did. So tap and pull, rounded, tap, rounded, tap and pull, back to flat. Does that make sense? At least here. Now that was closing convex. That's what we're doing, right? Close convex, yeah. So just tap and pull, and it should go back to the original flat state, and pull to the left, and that'll kind of cap it out. Incidentally, if you wanted this to curve inwards, you got to go down here to display properties, flip your normals here, and then when you go through here and you close that convex hole, it'll turn inwards, and then you can say flip this back, that'll curve in, and then on this one, you can curve it out. Or tap and pull and make it flat. Is there wisdom in AI? I don't think they're there yet, but you know, what if they were? Would they let us know? Would AI let us know? Or would they be like, let's let them think we're generative still? I don't know. I couldn't tell. Oh, that reminds me. I gotta go watch Dune. Next. Demo can't figure it out. Yeah. Yeah, tap. Yeah, exactly. So if it's not working for you, 2024.0.2 works on my machine. I'll use that. Oh, there you go. Trying to set your curvature from 100 to 0. Let's try that. That I always forget. There's actually options in here, right? So close convex hole. Here's spline here. Interactive curvature, optimal curvature, curvature at 100. So when we do this, it's going to go ahead and make that curvature at 100. So if we do that curvature down to 0, that will force you to only be. So when I go through here and do interactive, actually it is interactive. Yeah, we're not an interactive anymore. So curvature at 0. Boom. Thank you. You win PB. Yeah. How long for a full body creature sculpt that you usually do? I'm making a Z ignore from my MHW and I'm still in the Dynamesh phase. Kind of depends. Like usually what I'll have my cadence. Where's a good place for this? Ah, yes. So if you go here to presentations, I'll link you all to this. Here's my presentations page. My cadence is usually like ZBrush Summit presentation is a pretty good indication of this. I get stuff in quick. So all these weapons right here, maybe half a day, maybe 2 days maximum to get it to the point where they're at this state. Couple days. And it might, from 30 yards or 30 feet, or even from the FP view, you can kind of trick yourself into thinking like, is that done? Is that kind of not done? Like this. This is maybe 1 day, maybe a couple days to get it to this point in ZBrush. Throw it through, decimate it down, throw it through Painter, throw it into Engine, and evaluate it. So when we're talking like how long it's taking to do a creature, I time box it. I only work on a creature for 1 day, throw it into Engine and get it into context so we can evaluate it in the context of the experience. And then from there, we iterate based on what we see in the experience. Now I say like we actually do this. No one ever does this. Does it make sense? Yes. Should all game development be that type of thing? Yes. Is it? Of course not. You're going to get a concept and they're going to spend a month on it. And then you're going to get a concept and you're going to sculpt on it for a month. And then a month after that, it's going to go into game all rigged and textured. And then everybody's going to go, oh no, it doesn't work great. Whoop, all the way back to concept. Because we're all stupid. We're the game developers are the dumbest people on the planet. And I'm one of them. Instead of doing that, get something quick and evaluate in context. Dummy. But in lieu of that, yeah, if you just want to take a concept and sculpt it, that's hard to say. You know, there's so many variables that go into like making a creature, and if it has armor, or if it has to be functional, or if it's just a goopy, muscular thing. I don't know. Like for me to sit down and have a concept front and back, or front, and I can figure out the back 3/4, give me a couple days to knock it out, get it to like 80%. And then from there, because here's the other thing too, 0 to 80%, 2 days. 80% to 90%, 2 weeks. 90% to 95%, 2 months. 95% to 100%, or 95% to 99%, a year. You know what I mean? There's diminishing returns on that finesse curve. So I usually cap out at like 0 to 80%, evaluate it, do 1 round, 2 rounds of iteration, get it to like 89 to 93% in a couple weeks, and call it a day. You know. But again, there's a lot. I mean, if it's a creature guy with like IMAX 8K skin and it has armor and functional stuff, then shit, that could take 2 months. You know, so a lot of variables. But again, timelines are meaningless. It's one of those things where so many variables go into that, and back and forth and iteration and approvals, that simple things can take months and really complex things can take days, depending on approvals. But anyway, yeah, I don't know. I'll let you all get back to it. It's 8:06. Thanks, everybody. Hopefully that was fun-ish. And I don't know, like I said, I'm hoping to kind of bring this back around, and this would be fairly easy to go through. Maybe not the Baboon head, but certainly that first head we did, take that through the process of, going through and animating it, which y'all can catch. That type of process, YouTube channel, or on my ArtStation page here. If you're interested, the Real Illusion Character Creator, going through here and, making little base body head sculpts here, doing some cool stuff like that. So going through and doing this type of thing is really, really fun. And in fact, did I not post? Certainly I did. This thing. No, not that one. Yeah, that one. This thing too. This is basically what I'm going to do. So we have our co-body. That'll be like our statue body. And I'm going to swap out that co-mask head with the CC-based topology head. And then I can, let's skip all this. Can I skip this? Yeah. Set it up. And then I can go through and animate that head with that co-membrane weighted to it. So it's all around, and then I can take my face and blah, blah, blah. Avatar, give me back my statue. And then while my face is moving, its face will move. And then it'll look all goopy and gross. So that's the plan anyway. We'll see how it goes. Cool. But thanks, everybody. Have a good rest